Yep. Let's move on to running back, Tom. We're going to go back to the NFC East. I know that we do this often, but I think this year presents a lot of variance for these specific players that we're talking about. And the one now is Zeke. Zeke is somebody that I feel like you could get the SpongeBob font for on Tony Pollard better than Zeke. And then Zeke has a good game and it's, oh, where are the Tony Pollard truthers at? And, just back and forth. It just seemed to happen with these two guys. And look, I heard comparisons to Zeke is the new Todd Gurley. Zeke doesn't have burst anymore. Zeke can't get it done anymore. This guy's 25 years old and he doesn't have degenerative knee issues. I think we've gone a little bit too far on Zeke, and I think his week 17 and even his week 16, which was even better, maybe put a little bit of halt to that. But for a bit there, Tom, it looked like people were going to sell him for just about anything, which, obviously if he's on your team, you're not. But the pendulum is swayed with Zeke a little bit. I've seen startup drafts where he's going in the 4th round. He's going as running back 15 or later. I think people have really cooled on Zeke's dynasty value, and I'm not sure it's warranted, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
My thing with Zeke, he's done being a number one or a round one startup guy just because we're ages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all it is. Even if he has a, 2,000 total yard season next year, he's still done. He'll be in the 2nd, but he's at a point where it's like Julio Jones has been the last 2 years. He's going to be a guy who outproduces his value, like where he gets drafted in a startup, and he can win you leagues in a dynasty league because if you take him in the 4th, next 2 years, that's going to be a great value because you could be getting a top 10 running back. And he's got top 4 upside, assuming he has a healthy QB and he's healthy. What dinged him so much was we didn't realize how injured he was. Like, he was playing with that ankle injury, and we had no idea how bad it was until he missed that week. And then the next 2 weeks, he came back in 16 and 17, and he looked really good again. That rest did him a lot of good. So I hope people look at it and they say, okay, it was just the injury slowing him down that much, in addition to the fact that, they were stacking the box with even when Andy Dalton got hurt, the quarterbacks they were dealing with what was it?
Ben DiNucci, Gilbert.
Yeah, Ben DiNucci.
Yes,
Ben
never
DiNucci
forget the name.
And Gilbert Grape over there. But that's essentially what it was like. So he had a lot to deal with this season with Dak going out, the offensive line being injured, and then the ankle injury overall. So it was just the perfect storm. He was probably going to drop a little bit just because of the age. And now you're seeing it's an overreaction to drop him to the 4th, I think. I think he's mid 2 to late 2 as far as his overall value, what it should be right now. But right now you're just seeing that overreaction with him, which is fine. I'll draft him in the 4th, and I'll be perfectly fine with it.
Right. I think this is why we bring him up, because this is a player that I feel strongly about is a value for your teams. If you're talking startup, if you're talking trading for players, this is a player in December's ADP. He's running back 13. And so if you continue to bring in all of these new rookie running backs and you continue to look at Jonathan Taylor probably jumps above him with his crazy finish of the year, Cam Akers, some of these rookies, J.K. Dobbins, there's people that are going to move him down probably to running back 16, 17. I don't know how far it goes, but right now he's running back 13, and I would be willing to bet that it goes lower once we get January's ADP. And I think that makes a very strong buying window because he's a top 10 running back asset for me still in Dynasty. You hit on a lot of the points yourself. I mean, we're talking about a third and fourth string offensive lineman. We're talking about third and fourth string quarterbacks, second string with Andy Dalton. But the big thing that I'm glad you hit on was the injuries, because not a lot of people have really dove into the injuries he's had. He had both a hamstring earlier in the year and then a calf later in the year. And those are issues that are going to plague any running back, honestly. And so when people see Tony Pollard bursting and having this really great game, and you see slow Zeke only getting 3 yards, that's going to look bad. And people are going to push him down and move Pollard up. But when we saw Zeke get healthy, you saw him just return to who he was behind a horrendous offensive line, behind a backup quarterback. So, I think we saw how he was with Dak in a starting offensive line that was somewhat coherent. I mean, they didn't really play any of the season with their left tackle, didn't play any of their season with the right tackle, had a new center. So I think if we get some of those pieces back, and if you have Dak back, we're talking about a huge value here. And so I think now is the time while people are like, oh, I don't know if Dak's going to resign. Zeke is coming off of another disappointing year where he was running back 14, running back 13. That's a disappointing year for him. I think you're absolutely finding a value here if you trade for him at his current price.